John that I'm streaming. Come on, Twitch. There we are. Hooray. Tell the world that we're online. That's not the right window. That's the right window. Streaming, game dev, doing spaceship, wear and tear mechanics. The ACE. All right. So, this week we're going to work on the spaceship wear and tear. Last time what we did is we made this window for the missions, but then I realized that I can't do the missions until I have a way to judge them. And that means that I've got to have a way to make a spaceship work better or worse than it's normally supposed to work. And that means that we're going to need to have the spaceship actually take into account how well it's doing. Well, here's our spaceship. Got the hiccups all of a sudden. Never fails, you get the hiccups when you start to record anything. That's how it works. So here's our first little spaceship in scene mode, so it's not very pretty because I haven't hit play yet. But basically, there are a few systems that are built right into the ship, and those are the systems that need to have a rating attached to them. The stuff that you create, it exists basically to ensure that the rest of the ship rating works well over the time span and in the conditions that the mission specifies. So in order to have that happen, we're going to have to take into account how well any given part works, whether it's the solar parts or the engine or the scanners or the cargo bay, whatever the ship happens to have as hard points, we have to determine how well that's working. And that's going to depend entirely on whether or not you've done your missions. So if we look at the various hard points here, here's one. We've got manage engine, and this is a duty. And basically, duties contain any number of these tasks. Right now, the duties are what we detect, and then the tasks are under the duties. But I think that's the wrong way to take it. I think that what we want to have is the individual tasks to have a tag, because the duty of managing the engine should be something that has several tasks in it, and you can gain points by doing those tasks, but if you leave some of them undone for long, it takes its toll. So the basic idea is you've got to do the base mission. There's some kind of short-term basic engine maintenance that you've got to do, and then there's some kind of longer-term, medium-term engine maintenance, and then there's a long-term engine maintenance, and then there might also be like an engine customization and stuff like that. But basically, the longer these missions go without having been completed, the more of a penalty you get to your engine's efficiency. And I think what it's going to be is they get put up to a certain positive level when you do them, and then they degrade over time, and they can go as far negative as you'd like, which means that you get a bonus for doing them. It's not just a matter of preventing damage. But there's a question of whether or not I just want to make it like, this is how well the engine's working, or whether I want to have some other penalties involved. For example, I can have it so that you can make the engines work better, but then it requires more maintenance, or it costs more money when you get back to service it, or it takes longer to do other missions. And since I haven't really thought about these sorts of things, you can see why it is a bit of a challenge to make them work out. I probably should have been in play mode while talking about this because it's much prettier, and I can already tell that people have left. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start to create a multitask layout for these duties. First thing that's going to mean is making sure that the tasks have keywords. So we'll just pop open duty. There we go. And we're going to pop open task as well. There we go. And we're going to just take the duty keywords and put them on the tasks. There we go, task. And when we're talking about duties, we've always been searching for duties rather than tasks which I believe is a mistake. I think that I fundamentally got this wrong when I first built it. We really have to be searching for tasks. The duty is a containment system. I don't even, the more that I think about it, the less it makes sense for, hold on, I might be thinking about this wrong. God damn it, I should have thought about this before I did any of this work. So a duty is just a place where someone goes to work at a specific thing. And it could be that I actually do want to have a duty that has one purpose. And then the engines would have multiple duties attached to them. I might be overthinking this, though. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a paint program so that I can work this out on paper. I'm going to switch over to Phoenix Write while I boot all that shit up. And it'll just be a second. Do 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 do. All right, now back to the screen stream. And here is just a random piece of paper. And let's go ahead and doodle ourselves up some mission parameters. So basically, if we've got a rocket engine like this, we want it to work we want to determine how well it's working in various missions. So there are a few questions we want to ask. How well is it working in this mission? But there are lots of other things in mind here, like what about, where is my pencil here? It went invisible there. What about special requirements? For example, how well is it working in a nebula? Or how well is it working in an atmosphere? Or how well is it working when damaged, or something like that? But also things like different performance in different enviros. So maintenance costs, or repair costs, I should say. Repair costs, likelihood of breaking down, so here's the thing. When you go to service the engine, who are you sending and what are their skills? Does someone who goes to service an engine have just one skill, one engine skill, like in Star Trek, there's just engineers, and it's kind of irrelevant as to their specialty? Or when you go back to the engine, is it a host of different skills with different sorts of people? Similarly, what sort of tasks are we going to have? So let's talk about the individual tasks and what sort of tasks we might see. So if we're talking about individual tasks, we're going to have optimize, or not even optimize, just what's it called when just day-to-day operations, and that's going to be a default efficiency boost. But we also want other more complex things like maintenance. I've forgotten how to spell it. Was there an I there? I can't remember. I don't think so. And that would be degrades slowly without it. So for short range missions, you wouldn't have to worry about it. If you're only going to be out there for a couple of days, you can just get the maintenance done when you come back to base. But otherwise, you're going to have to maintain it over longer periods of time. But I think I want the maintenance to get harder, so I also want to have a long-term maintenance, which would be like refurbish. Ultra long-term maintenance. But there are lots of other tasks, like for example, we want to optimize. Efficiency boost, maintenance penalty. So in this case, what we've got is a situation where optimizing the engine will incur a maintenance penalty. Maybe what it is just a flat increase on the amount of time these missions have gone undone. So basically it just makes everything a little bit worse, but at the same time you get a big efficiency boost. Similarly, we might have a customize for specific missions. Or enviros. So for example, if you customized it, you'd be able to go into atmospheres easier if you customize it for atmospheres. And basically what I'm trying to get is a variety of tasks that I can use in a different set of situations that will never really error out. Or, I can use them in a lot of different combinations without ever adding shallow complexity. If you decide that you want to optimize, that's your decision, and you have to live with the side effects. If you decide you want to customize, then you're going to have to make sure that you customize when you need to and not when you don't, and that sort of thing. And I think that these are really the 5 basic. I'm trying to think of other things I might want. If you have like a mission or a task that you think might suit, let me know. But as far as I can tell, these are the 5 core tasks that I'm going to be relying on most of the time. So with that in mind, I think we can build them just as tasks within the duty. For now, we're just going to leave the duty as its own thing. No, we can't. Each of these tasks has different keywords associated with it. So we are going to need to have task keywords. There's no way around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and put the task keywords in. Specifically, we're just going to add in a task keyword. I don't think we need the whole set. Public string task keyword. And that should do. We should be able to search for just that keyword. Now here's the thing. If the duty has a set of keywords, what happens is that the duty can be excluded. Now, the reason that might be, I don't think that that's necessary. I think that it just should be for the tasks. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and exclude this entirely. We're not going to worry about it. If we need it later, we'll bring it back later. But here's the problem. That is something that we're actually using, and we need to switch over to using task keywords instead. The good news is it'll just barf up an error and tell us exactly where we need to go to fix it. So here you can see, does it contain the key? Instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to add it in. All the duties are viable. So what we're going to end up doing is, making this so that later it's going to take into account what rooms we're wired to, because you're allowed to wire to rooms. So if you go and you get all of the duties in the ship, you're going to want to do that only if you have no wires. So we're going to go ahead and if we have no wires connecting us to specific rooms, do this. Also check for valid paths. Don't do duties with no valid paths. To do, add valid path check. Otherwise, we'll just sit there and churn. And also other duties on the ship, just like that. No priority matching. Come on, go, go, go. There we are. So there we go. And that should do it. And now what we need to do is restrict the tasks to tasks that match our keywords. And we are not doing that right now, but we should be able to. The post here is a functional room. And if we go over into the functional room, here we go, we should be able to track down the functional room's task check element. There's local tasks. There's chained tasks. Tasks. Do we override any of those? I don't think we do. No, okay. So we have to determine which of these to override, and they're not very well commented because I decided not to comment on them for some reason. But basically we've overridden the duty here and gotten more duties from across the room. What we haven't done is overrided the task setup. This is task, this is not functional room. I was wondering why we were so confused. And basically what we've got is two kinds of task grabbing. We've got the local task, and we've also got the chained tasks. So the local tasks and the chained tasks are two sides of the same coin. The local tasks gets the tasks that are on us. And here you can see that what we do is we grab the duties from the duties list, and we do override that. But what that means is that we will get all of the tasks on all of the duties if we let this slide. So we're going to want to override this in our post, just because that's not quite the behavior we want anymore. We want to restrict it to just tasks that match our definition. Now, the reason that's important is because we have a we've radically improved the number of duties we can go out and find. This kind of room, a post, can assign duties from anywhere on the ship. So it's no longer looking for just tasks in itself. It's looking for tasks all across the ship. And that means that we're going to want to make sure that the tasks match our requirements. There are a couple of ways to have that happen. One is if t.transform.is of transform, then tasks.add t. Basically, if it's on us, if we are the actual parent of that tasks, we'll do it regardless of the tag. Someone's put it inside this post, you can do it here. No biggie. Otherwise, it's got to match our requirements. So if keywords, duty keywords, if, we're not going to even call them duty keywords anymore, we're just going to call them keywords. Keywords. So if keywords.contains task or t.keyword tasks.add t. There we go. That's all we needed to do. We just had to figure out how to add it at the right time. This has obviously got to be an override, so we'll just type that in there, and boom, that should work fine. And now what we need to do is assign it so that the tasks are properly set up with the correct keywords and such. Grind, and there we go. So here is the bridge. This is what has the duty on it. Where's the duty? It's inside, isn't it? Bridge station, here it is. So here you can see that there's no keyword function. There's no keyword here. What happened? Oh, this is because it's a duty, not the post. The post is probably on the door. Post, there it is. Just drag it to the top. So here's the keyword for the post. And we're just going to make this, for now, we will call this pilot. And we'll also add in ops. Yeah, I guess that's okay. I really want to use a different word from ops. Let me just quickly thesaurus that. Thesaurus operations. Procedure, process. That might be good. For now, we'll call it process. The reason I want to use something beside ops is because ops is what I'm using for the optimization system, which is I don't want to have too many things that can be mistaken for each other. So pilot and process is fine, and then we'll go over to the engine and we will change the maintain engines to be a process. Where's the keyword? There it is, process. And that's going to be our ability to maintain the engine. And now that should be the only task that we can discover because these other ones don't have keywords attached. So if we hit save and then we hit play, all of our people should just go maintain the engines and not do anything else. All of our people. One of our people should do it. But they're still doing optimizing the solar port, even though in theory it shouldn't work. That's interesting. Piloting ship and maintaining engine should be the only things we can do. The solar port shouldn't be an option. That's interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over into the post here, and we are going to print out all of the tasks. So debug.log local tasks for name, and then we are going to go ahead and just for each, we'll do it here. We'll integrate it into the function in a little bit of an aggressive way here. Debug.log adding local task t.name, and then here we're going to say debug.log adding remote task t.name plus because keyword t.keyword. Because one of these two things is going wrong, and it's something we've got to solve. Otherwise, I won't be able to do any of the programming stuff, because the whole point of this game is to trick you into programming. Can't do that if none of the programming works. Boom. There we go. So local tasks for S bridge room small, adding local task pilot ship, adding remote task maintain engine because of keyword process, setting up pilot ship, setting up pilot engine, setting up optimized solar port. So even though the tasks shouldn't have included it, for some reason it's still getting set up. This is interesting. So that's in the, hold on, that's in the transform tracker cable. That's got nothing to do with anything. In fact, let's go in there and just take that offline, because that is actually just the visual. So we're going to get down here. We're going to say debug.log found plus tasks.count tasks. Should say 2. The question is, where the hell are they getting the solar maintenance duties? Nobody should be assigning those. The only place that should be assigning them is... No, because they don't have a post. Only posts can assign duties. At least, I thought so. Clearly, that's not the case. Found 2 tasks. So, I think what's happening here is I am actually allowing people to assign themselves to duties. What I'm doing is I'm asking for remote tasks and local tasks. And that's not what I want to actually do. And I never had this problem before because I wasn't trying to exclude any duties. But basically, these functional rooms are currently getting any tasks that are on themselves. But the problem is they shouldn't. Functional rooms shouldn't assign any tasks ever. The only time a task should be assigned is when a post wants to assign it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to comment this out. And you know what? I bet it'll work fine. So they still are. They're going to still pass the remote tasks that they can find, but they are no longer going to provide any tasks unless they are a post. Only posts can provide tasks. That's core to the idea here, and you can see how that's working fine now. Great, perfect, lovely. I love it. Good work. We're going to go ahead and make a small change, and we're going to make that small change to make this a little bit more efficient, and that's going to be that we are going to return null here instead. Now the reason is because I don't like continually creating an object when I don't have to. But here's the thing, when we get our local tasks, we get this like task.count here. We're actually going to want to say if tasks, well, hold on. Yeah, so that was, hold on. How did you change the size? What did I do to change the size of the, it's too small now. Oh, Control plus. Okay, that's cool. Now that I know how to change the size, maybe people will be able to see what I'm typing. It was hideously small, and it wasn't responding to any of the normal size change operations, which is Control mouse wheel. For some reason, it's different for this. So what we're going to want to do here is just say if tasks and control tasks. So if it's not tasks, then we're not going to do it. But you know what? I actually don't think This is an optimization after all. We're going to go ahead and do it the way I did it initially. It's okay if it's a little bit inefficient because it's something that only happens once an hour. So grind, 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 and should work fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some additional tasks to the tasks. But we also have to make sure that when we are adding in tasks, they have the effects we want them to have. So what we're going to want to do is have a task have a positive value that it gets assigned. And then we're going to want to have that degrade over time. And we've already got some of that built in here, but we're going to go ahead and really nail it down now. So what we've got here is a base importance that something will keep. Hours passed since completion, importance keyword. So we don't actually have any of the boosts to efficiency. And you know what? I think that's fine because I don't think I want that in the base task class. Maybe I do, though, because the base task class is what I'll be using to query. We'll add them to the base task class for now, and we'll just put them up at the top. Public string. Do we have a public string description? I don't think we do. Add that in. Multi-line. We're going to want to have a public float efficiency boost, and we'll make that just 1 for now. We'll have a public float efficiency degrade per hour, and we'll make that 0.1 F for now. And then we're going to want to be able to get the, so we'll call this efficiency boost when performed. We'll just go ahead and say public float efficiency and then get the efficiency. And it's going to be efficiency boost minus efficiency degrade per hour, and then times the hours passed since completion. Return that. There we are. And that's a pretty easy way for us to work it out. The problem is that the efficiency and the importance are now completely separated, and I don't think that's what we want. What we're going to want to do is remove the base importance here, and move this hours passed since completion. We'll put it underneath this stuff. There we go. And what we're going to want to do is make this base importance, this importance, equal to the inefficiency. So we'll go ahead and return 1 minus efficiency. I don't know. It could be 0 minus efficiency. It doesn't really matter. Just negative efficiency. And that way, the more efficient it is right now, the less important it is. The problem is that I think importance might be... No, it's fine. It's fine. If it's not fine, I'll fix it. That is the way programming works. So this is just a very basic way for us to set this up so that it does something. But here's the thing. We're going to want it to do some more stuff. So we're going to want to set up some more functions here. We're going to want a Unity event for when the task is complete. There it is, on task complete. We're also going to want a function that allows us to penalize other tasks. Public void penalize, and then we'll say float virtual hour int. No, float, it is int virtual hours. And then we just say hours passed since time completion plus equals virtual hours. And we'll just add in tooltip, or I'll make it an actual comment here. Some things penalize certain other tasks. This is the function to plug into your Unity events to do exactly that. We're also going to want the task to have a constraint. And this is something where I haven't really talked about that at all, but if you are in a specific environment, like, in a planetary atmosphere or whatever, certain things may behave differently. And because of that, we're going to have to keep that in mind as we move forward. But for now, I think this is fine. I think that we're fine with that as our basic setup. Grind, grind, grind. And what that means is that this is not going to be maintain engines. This is going to be, what did I call it? Process engines. There we go. And we'll go ahead and put that in here. Keep the engine ticking over day to day. That's fine. And then what we're going to want to do is duplicate that and have a maintain. And the maintain is basically the same thing except for different. So it's going to be polish the keyboard and muck out the pipes. And that's going to be an efficiency boost of 1, but it's going to have an efficiency degrade of 0.01. So you can see where we're going with this, right? And then we're going to add in a refurbish. Oh, but these are not the same keyword. This is maintain, and this is going to be refurbish. Completely replace the parts that need replacing. 0.001. And then we're also going to have the other two, which were optimize and customize. Except for it's not optimize, it's operations. Optimize the engine's performance at the price of requiring more maintenance. That doesn't look right. Maintenance. Am I spelling that wrong? Maintenance. Yeah, there's no I. There we are. Important that my stand-in things get correctly spelled. You know how that is, right? Right, so now what we've got is, this one is a little bit special because we don't want it to degrade. We want it to reset. Well, we do want it to degrade, actually, but we don't want it to degrade past 0. So we're going to put in a switch where, just drag this over, don't need this anymore, close you down, do not save. And we're going to want to add in a switch where it bottoms out at 0. So with that in mind, public bool cap at 0, or yeah, cap at 0 is fine. Equals false. And tooltip, if true, never drop below 0 efficiency. Efficiency, right? So what we're going to do here is float f equals that crap. If cap at 0, if f is less than 0 and cap at 0, return 0, otherwise return f. There we go. No problem. And that way what we'll have is we will never have a problem where not optimizing causes you to become worse and worse and worse and worse. Optimizing is purely optional and positive. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this have an efficiency boost of 10 and then degrade rather rapidly. 1, like so. And we also want to have a one for customization, or what do we want to call it? It's not really customization, it's optimization, I guess. It's making it in tune with the current environment, but I don't really know the best way to handle that. For now, we'll just leave it at this, and we'll do the others later. And what this will do is this will take the maintenance, and it'll take the refurbishing, and it'll add hours to those. Penalize and penalize. It's going to add 2 hours and 10 hours, just as a random guess. So these are going to be the basic setup for all of our options, and for that we're going to just save it as a prefab. We're going to call this just, the name here is a problem because it's really not something I care about. So we're going to go into duty. When we talk about duty name, I think we're going to want to have that duty name be based on the parent object. So if I were to go public new string name get, and I might be able to tell it to get its parent's object name, return transform.parent.name. Just so that I don't have to keep naming them over and over, we'll just call this duty. And then we can save that here in prefabs, like so. And later on we can change that however we want. So right now we've got process, maintain, refresh, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. All of these are just things where we can copy and paste it and drop it in. So that's what we'll do. Drop it in Solr and drop it in the other Solr. And we'll call this Solr do, what is it called? Port and starboard. And this is Solr door port. And then we will delete the ones where we don't need them anymore. Boom, gone. And now we'll hit play and see if it all works. There we are. But you can see how it just says process. Clearly that's not what I want it to be. So what we're going to want to have is the task names are also going to have to be overridden. So the duty is going to be plus duty, and the task name is going to be this name plus task. So public string, public new string name, get, return, parent, transform, well, transform.parent.parent. Well, that's really gross. Not sure I like that at all. So I don't actually know how to get the base name here, do I? I think I can just say that. Let's try it. Actually, I have it the wrong way around, don't I? It should be the other. Grind, and by the way, that's not like a hang or anything. It's just that the first hour nobody does anything. So you can see how process Solr door starboard, process Solr door port, pilot ship S bridge small. Obviously, having those named engine door and stuff like that is dumb. So we'll just call it engine, Solr port, and Solr starboard. And our S mess hall. These are things where I want to change it, because really what we're talking about here is we're grabbing the name of these things, and the name is always going to be garbage, right? So what we want to do is we want to have it grab the functional element in its parent, the functional room, and have that have a name that's specific to that room but doesn't override the fundamental name in the hierarchy. So for that, we're going to go over to functional room and create a new category of name variable. Public string human name, ship name, in-world name, short name. And we're going to go ahead and make that a getter and a setter. Normally you don't use getters and setters for public properties like this, but in this case I want to be able to edit it, but I also want it to have a fallback, a default that is a little bit more complicated than just being null. So if short name, then return it, or if short name.length is greater than 0, return short name, otherwise return name. Basic stuff. And that should give us the ability to name these things without having to rename them. But to be honest, I don't think I need to do that. I guess it's probably for the best, though. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here into the bridge room. The bridge room small, we're just going to call this bridge. And then when we hit play, it should actually say, you know, bridge, pilot ship bridge down here. Pilot ship. It still says S bridge room small because we're not asking for the correct name. Give me a moment here. Over in the task, this is no longer what we're going to do. We're going to do a plus functional get component in parent functional room dot short name. And that will barf if we set it up incredibly wrong, but that's fine, I don't care. So you can see how it says pilot ship bridge. When we have a task that is so customized, we may not want to do that. So what we're going to probably want to have is the ability to override the name here. And that's basically what we set up before. So we're going to public string specific name. And here we're going to say if specific name dot length is greater than 0, return specific name, otherwise return that. And that way we'll be able to name it whatever we want if it's something like piloting the ship and it has special characteristics, right? So here in pilot ship, we'll give it a specific name of pilot ship. And then when we scroll it in and out and then hit play, I scroll it in and out to see whether or not it's done recompiling, in case you're wondering, because it won't scroll correctly while it's recompiling. Pilot ship, see? So this is all just very basic trash. What we're going to do now is make it so the functional rooms have an efficiency rating. And that means that they are going to need to be overhauled a little bit so that they have that capability. Here's the base functional room element, and we're going to add in an efficiency rating to this. We're going to put it just below the short name in terms of location here, because it's more important than things like doors. Public float efficiency. And we're going to go ahead and get. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab all of the tasks in our in ourselves here. Get component in children task. I guess that's an array, not a list. That's fine. True. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through them all. Float e equals 0. For each children, you know what, we're going to have a base efficiency. Public float base efficiency equals 1. Just so that way we can brute force some balancing later on. As t, we're going to go ahead and add that in. So e plus equals t dot. What? Is that not that? That's, sorry, that's PHP. Task t in children. E plus equals t dot efficiency. Basic stuff. Return e. So in this way, we can quickly grab what the efficiency is whenever we want to, and that will allow us to quickly determine what the efficiency is. And for now, what we're going to do is at the end of each hour, we're going to print our efficiency. So for that, we're going to just go down into the on-hour pass. That doesn't seem to be an on-hour pass. There is no hour pass. Okay, so it looks like not all functional rooms have that, but we should have that in posts, and I think that we should have that in... We should probably do that for every functional room. Have an hour passed. So that's what we'll do. We'll just add in an hour passed. Public void on hour passed, or hour passed. And then we're going to just sign up for that right here and start. We'll go ahead and say universe.onHourPass.addListener hour passed. Nope, don't call it. There we are. And down here, what we're going to do is we're going to have public void on destroy, and we'll just unsign up for that. I don't think we need to worry about it, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And here in on hour past, we're just going to go ahead and say our current efficiency, just so that we can get a picture of how it works over time. Grind. Hit play. First hour nowish. There we go. So you can see how it's got a bunch of things saying bridge chamber small, 1.9 efficiency, which makes sense because the bridge chamber is, it does not have the full set of tasks. The mess hall has no tasks, and so it is not degrading at all. The other bridge room also doesn't have a full set of tasks, but the solar port and the solar starboard and the engine, they all have the same set of tasks, with the difference being that there is no difference at all. So they all have the exact same set of tasks. And you can see how those tasks degrade over time. If we wait another hour, you can see how they went down from, what was it, 12.989 or something, down to 11.7. And we're going to see this continue to degrade as time passes, and that's the whole point. But it should go back up when these T-minuses actually finish. But that said, the task priority is an issue here. We've prioritized the port and starboard elements without bothering to take into account the fact that they aren't really that important. So what we're going to want to do is make sure that we can prioritize the specific duty places. Here you can see how the solar efficiency is now a little bit higher than the rest, but it's going down really, really fast. I think that's because of the optimization function. The optimization function starts as 1, degrades really, the operation function, I mean, degrades really, really fast. And then when it hits 0, I mean, it's never going to come back again. So the majority of the initial efficiency is from that task. So what we're going to do is we are going to start certain tasks at a much higher penalty. So over here in operations, we're just going to start that at a specific length, hours passed since completed. We're going to go ahead and start that as a whole bunch of hours have passed. And in that way, it will start at 0 rather than 10. And you won't get any credit if you never optimize. So if we do that, we're going to see that those 12s turn into 2s. See? The solar port, negative 87.111, because I forgot to cap it at 0. Try that again. There we are. 4. That's good. And then it'll go down, and then it'll increase after the processing finishes. This is obviously for debug. I don't plan to have this be the actual way that you monitor your rooms. But now they're done, and you can see how the solar starboard is up at 3.9, whereas the engine is down at 3.2. And that gap will only widen. It might not widen too much more than that, but it will only widen. The problem is that the actual functional rooms need to have a base importance. So public float importance equals 1. And what we're going to do is over in our tooltip, do not go below 0.1. Because at 0 or we'll be multiplying, and at 0 or below that wouldn't make any sense. Over here at task, we've got our efficiency and our importance. The importance is no longer going to be negative efficiency. It's going to be negative efficiency times this dot importance. And now, since we're doing that over and over, it's probably worth having that be a cached value. So that's what we'll do. We'll just add that in as a quick little cached value. Protected functional room parent and protected functional room. Actually, this can be public. Public functional room parent get. If parent, or if not parent, then parent equals this. Return parent. And then down here we can just say parent and parent. Oh, that's not it. There it is. There we are. That'll speed things up a little bit, and it makes it look a little cleaner, and later on I can change how they get their parents, and it won't explode violently in my face. So all of that is going to be fine, and we are going to... Yeah, that's all good. So all we have to do now is make the engine's importance like 5 instead of 1. Basic, right? And the bridge, we're going to make that also quite important. So if we take the bridge and the other bridge, we can make their importance 5 as well. And 5 will be kind of the default importance. And now we should see engines. That's not an engine. So for some reason, the importance didn't work out. And I think it's because it's multiplying 0. Is it multiplying 0? Because it's negative. Ah, idiot. Okay, so for the importance, we're actually taking that efficiency, we're making it negative, and then we're multiplying it by parent.importance. The importance should be the penalty below what we've got. So we're going to go ahead and take efficiency boost minus efficiency. There we are. So if it's at maximum value, then the importance will always be 0, regardless of how important the facility is, because you've done it. It's done. You don't have to do it again right now. And this means that the bridge and such will be 5 times more likely. So every hour that passes in the bridge is 5 times more important than an hour that passes in the solar port and the solar, the solar collection systems. So we've got process engine, pilot ship, and process solar port. That's good. Next time we should see process solar starboard, but it's still a ways away. These are long. The hours need to be adjusted because right now everything's got the exact same function, but we don't actually want the solar elements to take as long. Either way, we should now see a process solar starboard. There it is. So we're going to go over into the solar elements and take these processes. We're going to drop that time it takes down quite a bit. We're going to make it exhaustiveness 2, and the base task length is going to be 2. So that should be a little bit better. The base task length is 2. If you're wondering why the task length is actually 3, it's because that's where the programming comes into play. This room here adds an hour to your commute, but in exchange, it radically reduces how exhausted you are when you come back from your mission. So by putting this between the dorm and the target of their duties, it takes them longer to do their duties, but they get a lot less tired. And you can see how the fatigue is not going to build up so much. So you can see how it's still at 0 fatigue, because the amount of fatigue they recover from walking through is actually higher than the amount of fatigue that the starboard processes actually run. And you can see how it's starting to get a little bit up there, but not too bad. And that's all because of how these things work. The fatigue actually goes in increments of 0.1, but I don't display it in increments of 0.1, so we end up kind of just summarizing it, which is fine. So you can see how this is all working now. Our efficiencies are not horrible here. You can see how some of these are really terrible. The small bridge chamber efficiency is down at 0.6. Now the reason for that is because the small bridge chamber is not the bridge we're using. It's the one over here. And because of that, nobody can get to it, and therefore nobody can actually do the tasks on it. And because of that, it's just not part of the mission parameter. So when we are talking about how to do this stuff, we end up... I'm trying to think about this. The bridge actually searches the entire ship for tasks using a blunt force find in children. That's actually not the best way to do it. What we really should be doing is using the find tasks functional room attachment element. Well, I should probably just make a note of that and come back to it. So we'll go ahead and make a note of that over here in post. Here in this, if we have no room to do, replace this with an actual path found version using the standard setup. You got like a standard sector walk. And that's actually not too hard. We can see how that's done in the normal functional room. I might be able to do it now. The normal functional room here is duties, and here it is, local tasks versus chained tasks. So we can actually just find local tasks and chained tasks like this, and then we can just restrict the tasks that we find to ones that match our values. Let's go ahead and try that out. So what we've got here is, just so you can see, the bridge we're not using is down at negative 2.3, whereas the bridge we are using is up at 2. So if we take a look, see how this is at 1.9 now, whereas this is at negative 2. So you can tell this is actually working. The tasks are properly completing. But what we're going to want to do here is make it so that finding our posts, all of this is nonsense. We don't need to care about what duties we can find. None of this stuff matters in the slightest. So we're going to just take it out. It's all obsolete. We're just going to comment it out for now because maybe I'm making a horrible mistake and that happens. But I think that we're going to be able to just use this local tasks function to grab all of the tasks in this form here using chained tasks. Now, the way that you grab these is you go down here and you ask for tasks from a specific door, at which point it clears all of the rooms checked for tasks, and then it goes through all of the chained tasks that it can find. From door doesn't appear to make an appearance here. It should be past here, but it's not. Is that just an error on my part? Did I just forget to pass it? Basically, the thing that from door does is it just skips whichever door that you say it's from. So by finding tasks from a null element, we're not finding them from a specific door. And that actually explains why some of these problems I'm getting, some of these minor issues that I haven't commented on. So we're going to go ahead and actually pass that door like it's supposed to be passed. But over here in our version, the post here, our local tasks are going to be a little more complicated. Here you can see that what we've got is just this. And so our post, we're actually going to return any tasks that are in ourselves. So this is actually what we want in the post. But we also want to override. We don't want any of this stuff. I think we can just flat out. Do I want to delete it? I'm going to go ahead and just move it up into the garbage area for now, just in case I am making a horrible mistake. Because what we want to do here is, that's tasks. This is a functional room. Here where we add in the chained tasks and all this stuff, when we do this part here, public virtual list tasks, ship door, from door, this is where we want to do our overriding, because at the end, we're going to exclude any tasks we don't like. So when we look over here at the post, we don't have a tasks override yet, so we're going to just add one in. Public override, and I think it's list again. Yeah, list. Ship door, from door. I believe that's how it looks. They've stopped actively filling them in for me, so I'm having to remember it. And then we just say list task t ts equals base.tasks null, or from door, I guess. But the thing is that this is actually going to be a yeah, that's fine. That's all good. And then what we're going to want to do is go through and remove all of the tasks that don't fit our definition. So for a equals 0, a is less than ts.count, a plus plus, if tsa, oh, that's unfortunate, dot keyword. So if our keywords, if keywords dot contains the existing keyword. If there's no keyword contained, then remove it. ts.remove at a and a minus minus. And then we just remove ts. Or return ts. There we are. And that should do the trick, I think. But the basic idea here is we are no longer going to be grabbing things that we can't reach, in theory. But we're no longer debugging it, so I'm going to go ahead and add in some debugging. So debug.log or just say name plus, oh no, we're not going to do it. We're going to debug.log. Debug.log name plus tasks plus ts.count. And that should help us just keep track of what's going on here. We've only got one active post being asked for things at the moment. And I'm not actually sure whether or not this is going to work. I think the from door might screw it up. So we're going to go ahead and just try it out and see what happens. Yeah, that didn't work out. So what we're going to do is we are going to go back into the functional room and remove the from door. I think I've got a bug here. I should probably track it down and fix it. Sounds like fun. I'm sure you all agree. That's why you're here, right? To watch me track down bugs. So let's go ahead and do it some more. Pilot ship got found, but it was the only one. I'm not sure why it's down off the bottom of the screen. That's kind of strange. Well, either way, it's not properly finding the others, and I'm not really sure why. So the basic idea is that this goes out and searches for tasks via just looking for tasks. None of the of course, none of the tasks actually have, none of the rooms actually pass back their tasks. I disabled that. Right. Here. So what we're going to want to do is we have to be able to ask for tasks in two ways. The ships can't have tasks if they're not functional rooms. But if they are functional rooms, I mean, if they're not duties, but if they are duties, we actually want to pass it back. So over here in duty and task and post, so hold on, post, that's what it is. We've got this local tasks, and we stole this from the original implementation of a functional room, which was here. And then we sort of replaced it with a null. There it is. There we are. What we actually want to do is we want to find whoever is asking for tasks. Ah, shit, that's not going to work. Only duties can actually add tasks to a list of tasks to do. Other rooms can have tasks, but those tasks are ignored unless they are assigned by a duty, or by a post, I mean. So unless there is a post telling you to do a task, you can't do it. But that's not true, because there are going to be tasks I want you to be able to do. All right. No. So the duties are limited to tasks that match their keywords. but they get back every possible task, and then at the only at the last second do they actually tear away the keywords. So what we actually want to do here is when we get tasks in a functional room, we're going to want to erase all of the tasks that aren't ours. Well, let's go over to the thing that is actually asking for the tasks, and that is the place people sleep, the dorm. The dorm, the crew quarters, this is what actually does the work of grabbing the tasks. And the way it works is that during an hour pass here, it grabs all of the tasks, and the way it does that is it just asks for the tasks. And then it goes through all of the tasks, and it removes anything that is running or just completed. And then it sorts them by their priority, which happens automatically before we get here. It happens in here. And then it just goes ahead and adds all those tasks to the list of things you can do. Now, the problem is that when we go out and ask for tasks, we want the only thing that responds to be the actual posts that we can reach. But the posts ask for tasks in the same way as the other rooms. So what that means is that somehow we have to understand that there has to be a post assigning these tasks. I'll have to think about it. For now, we're going to go ahead and go back to having our tasks be just global. And the way we're going to do that is we are just going to make it all the tasks on the ship, which we can do just by getting them. So list or task array. Well, I guess we are removing tasks. So task array ts array equals ship map. Get component parent path element map. Get component parent ship map. Map. What's it called? Navigation. I need to pay more attention. Path element. All right, so now we've got a method of, why is this red? Oh, I forgot to actually call it. So now you've got an array of tasks, and what we're going to want to do is create a list. List task ts equals new list task. And then we'll add to this rather than subtract it. If, so for each task t in t's, if keywords.contains t.keyword t's.add t. Basic stuff, right? And this should have the same effect that we had before, but dot ship, why is this red? Path element does not contain, oh, is it map? Map, yeah. This is really garbage. I need a better way to ask for tasks. I have to think about it. I can get tasks properly. This isn't going to work, though, because it's returning all the tasks. In order for this to work, I would have to revert the functional rooms back to doing it the dumb way. Oh, that's not it, idiot. This is dumb. I'm doing it the wrong way, and I can't think of the right way to do it. Basically, only only posts are allowed to give out tasks, and that's very, very important for the way the game works. So when I ask for tasks, only posts should be able to respond, but posts have to ask for tasks. So I guess there really need to be two task ask paths. But here you can see it's not working. It's still busted somehow, and I'm not sure how. This should have all of the tasks. In fact, it shouldn't have the ones we have. Oh, maybe I do need to roll it back after all of that. All right, well, just roll it back. Roll it back. I am not 100% sure that that's fully rolled back, but probably, hopefully. So what I should probably be doing is asking for duties. Yeah, that might be a better path. Piloting didn't make it through that. So, for some reason it didn't work, but I'm going to replace this, so it doesn't really matter whether it worked or not. What I need to do is have two paths. I want the functional rooms to respond with their duties if they're asked for duties, and I want them to respond with nothing if they're asked for tasks, but to pass it on to anybody who's listening. So basically what happens is you ask for tasks, and it goes out and it says, do you have any tasks? Anybody got any tasks? And everybody says no, except for in a very rare set of cases, except for duties. And then duties, or posts rather, and then posts say, okay, so I'm the post, I'm the bridge, I actually hand out tasks. So I am going to go ask for duties all around the ship. I'm going to collect those duties, I'm going to scan them for tasks that I want to do, and I'm going to return all those tasks. Everyone else, you ask for tasks, they're like, I don't have any tasks, or I have the task that I have inside me. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to refurbish this so that the path for grabbing tasks and duties is completely different. It's a garbage setup the way it is now. And basically what we're doing is we have these sector lists right here. And what we do is we walk through the sector lists, grabbing all of the rooms, all the functional rooms in that sector list. And basically we just want to have that be more universal. So we're going to go ahead and build that exact thing right now. So protected static. Why is it static? That's interesting. Oh, I guess it does have to be static, doesn't it? Yeah, protected static list functional room. Rooms checked equals new list functional room. And then we're going to go ahead and start to build our functions. Now, if we were going to do this really, really cleverly, we would be able to pass an arbitrary function, but passing functions is a little bit difficult in C#, and I don't remember how to do it. So we're just going to create two side-by-side functions. So we're going to have the one that checks that start the search, the ones that search in ourselves, the ones that search other functional rooms. And that means that we're going to have a function for passing back a list of functional rooms. Public void, public list functional room. Rooms to check. And that's going to be an array function. And basically this is going to go through ship door, from door. This is going to go through all of the sectors except for the one that is from door. You can see that here. See? Normally what we do is we find all of the doors attached to it. We're going to go ahead and start from scratch and think about this carefully. so that we don't have to worry about this too much. But basically, I think that the best thing for us to do is to get a list of functional rooms right off the bat. So that's what we're going to focus on. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through a list, functional room, list equal new. There we go. That's what we're going to add them to, and that's what we're going to return at the end. And then what we're going to take a look for is we're going to go through all of the sectors in our ship. If the sectors are matched to the doors. So the doors and the sectors have the same index. So each sector is attached to one door of the ship. It can be that doors have similar sectors, overlapping sectors, stuff like that. That's fine. We're not going to need this rooms checked anymore, I don't think. Are we? Yeah, we are. So what we're going to do is each of the functional rooms in the sectors, we are going to check. If we've already checked it, we're not going to do anything. If we haven't checked it, we're going to add it to the tasks. So, or add it to the list of things we're checking. So list.add. Hold on. Rooms check from door. Public list, functional room, attached rooms. And then we're gonna, so this is actually what we're doing. We're not doing rooms to check, we're doing attached rooms. There we are. So what we're doing is when we get here, we are going to want to add ourselves to this list, list.addUs. And then in here, we're going to go through and we're going to ask the room for another list. So list functional room, more rooms equals f dot attached rooms. And then we're going to want to ask it for the door, from door. And then we're going to pass it ourselves as the source. That way it won't backtrack. Now that's actually not guaranteed to work. So there's not really any point to it, now that I'm thinking about it. We might as well just always check from all doors. Yeah, we might as well just always check from all doors. There's no reason to do this crap. And then we go through for each functional room, f in more rooms. List.add f. Are we already using f? No, we're not. There we are. And the only flaw with this is that we're not currently adding the rooms to the rooms checked list. So rooms checked.add this. Easy enough, right? And in here, what we do is barf, because nf. It doesn't really matter. I knew we were already using f. I just was running too fast in my head. So we go through the sectors. We find every single room that we're attached to. If we already checked it, we don't check it again. Otherwise, we ask it for all of the rooms it's attached to. Basic, right? And then we get a giant list of all of the attached rooms. And it's going to be every single room that we could possibly get. Now, here's the issue. That is not what we want to do. So when we're asking for tasks, what we're doing is we actually only want to get tasks within a sector. We only want to go into connected sectors if we can't find any tasks. That's a core part of how we do things. So what we're going to want to do here is we actually do have to check and see whether or not we're stopped. Curses! This was so clean. The functional rooms, we may be asking them for tasks or we may be asking them for duties. But the duties, if we're asking them for duties, then there's no blocking. Duties are always universal. It's only when we're asking for tasks that there's blocking. So we'll add just a Boolean here. Block if tasks exist equals true. And that way we can come down here and we can say block if tasks exist. And what we'll do is in this, we'll say list.add this, roomscheck.add this, and then we will return if block if tasks exist and we have tasks. If block if tasks exist and tasks and local tasks dot count greater than 0, return list. There we are. So basically, there are times when we are going to have tasks. One of those times is if we're a post. If we're a post, we're almost always going to have tasks because we reach out to the whole ship and find tasks. However, there are times when we're going to have tasks and we're not a post. These are going to be pretty rare, but it's going to be things like, fixing something local, that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to say that optionally, if we have tasks, stop, or not, depending on what value we've passed. Let's go ahead and add that in to the comments because otherwise we're going to forget about it. This searches for all attached rooms, optionally blocking if a functional room has a task. This blocking is normally used to prioritize local tasks and stop remote tasks from being considered until local tasks are complete. There we are. So now we can find all attached rooms, and we can call that with ourselves, we can call that with other people, we can call it however we want. So now what we're going to want to have is the setup for doing this properly. So public list task virtual. And what we called it originally was tasks. Yeah, we're going to call it tasks again. We'll delete the other tasks function. So this is asking us for tasks from a specific door originally. We're not going to worry about the doors. I don't think that's ever going to matter. If it does matter, it'll be a little bit more complicated than this, and it'll be its own room, so that'll be fine. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to comment out the old tasks function here. We're going to leave sort tasks intact. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and make this new function. So this actually will start the search up. And what we're going to do is we're going to clear the rooms checked function, or the rooms checked list. Now what that means is that this attached rooms will always be using the same global rooms checked test, so we won't have any infinite loops. But when we first start asking for tasks, we're going to want to be sure that we actually clear that, so we get rooms, right? And then we're going to have a list functional room, rooms equals attached rooms, true. And then we're going to go through all of those rooms. We're going to grab all of their tasks and add them. So list tasks, tasks equals new list task. For each functional room, f in rooms. Why is that there? That's fine. We'll return that. Return tasks. List task local equals f dot tasks. Local tasks. Is it local tasks? Yes. I think. For each task t in tasks are local, tasks.add t. And then what we're going to want to do is sort them. Now, where did we end up sorting them before? There it is. There we are. Perfect. So what that'll do is it'll grab all of the tasks. And then what we're going to want to do is public virtual list duty. List duty. Now we define the duties somewhere here. There we are. No, that's the getter and setter. That's a little bit confusing. I might have to delete that. Yeah, this getter and setter is bad news. We're going to go ahead and change this to local duties. There we are. Otherwise, it'll get really confusing. So what we're going to want here is to do the exact same thing, except that it's going to be a couple of other things. Checked. It's going to be duties instead. We're not going to sort them. That should be fine. We're also going to pass this as false. Get all rooms, no stopping. Anything attached is fair game. And we're calling it tasks because we're morons. Call it duties. There we are. And we can just actually say, we can actually polish that here as well. All right, so now it's a little bit cleaner. And what we've got is a case of combinations so that our local tasks and our duties are not quite working right, and we're going to want to fix that. So to do that, I believe that we're going to want to change local tasks into a property. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. It's just going to be getter and setter. Just a get. I don't know whether I can declare them virtual, right? I think I can. So this is something where we're going to actually put this up with duties, local duties, wherever that was. There it is. Yeah, that's fine. This is lowercase. There we go. That means that we're going to have to grab here, fix it. All right, so that should work fine. What we've got now is a way to get either duties or tasks. We don't need to search in our cells, those are at the top. We don't need to search in other functional rooms, those are already added in. So this should work fine. Only thing we really need to do at this point is delete the originals. I'm not going to do that until I know these are going to work, but I think they're going to work. I think that this is a lot cleaner. We do have to override these for the post. When we look at the post here, we've got this and it's not working anymore because we changed it. We're going to go ahead and change that to this. And you can see that the difference here is that here in the post, we're actually tracking down a lot more tasks. So this is just rooms checked. Good thing we didn't try and actually run that. So here we are getting local tasks and it's empty. It's not actually going to always be empty. There are other things that we're going to want to do. But the problem here is that when we're asking for local tasks, we actually end up asking for, yeah, that should be fine. That should be great. So basically what happens here is that in the post's local tasks, rather than returning null, it goes and it finds all of the duties it has, and then it goes through all of those duties and adds the tasks manually. It never uses the tasks functions ever. So the tasks functions that return tasks don't apply here. Whereas its duties is a little bit wrong. This is local duties. We renamed it. The local duties is going to be deleted. Don't need it. We already did that. We already figured that out. It's all good. There we are. Here we've got tasks from ship door. We can override that, by which I mean we can delete it wholesale. It doesn't matter anymore. The only difference between a post, this is local duties. I don't think we need that though. If we take a look, the post doesn't have to use the local duties functions. Local duties returns its own duties. Whereas if we call duties, just the function, it actually goes and it finds all of the local duties and all of the attached places. So we can actually just route that straight to local duties, from local duties to duties. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this, and we're going to go, and these local tasks are not going to be against duties. They're going to be against duties. They're not going to be against the local duties. They're going to be against all the duties we can find. All the duties we can reach, not just the locals. And that should be all we need to do to separate the post from the rest. The other rooms don't ask for duties. The only times that they actually care about duties is the duties that are actually assigned to them personally. However, posts actually look for duties in every single room they can see. And they say, give me all of those duties. And that should be enough to make this work. It also might result in an internal loop. Not sure yet. We'll have to find out. Here you can see how it takes an argument, but we no longer have that argument. We're just going to go ahead and delete that because that was a makeshift piece of crap anyway. We'll leave that note in because it's kind of important. Got a couple of these, but they're all the same. Grind, grind, grind. I don't believe we have a debug print duties. No, we don't. So we're going to add that in because I want to be able to debug it. And then we'll just go ahead and say for each task T duty. And duty T in duties, local duties. Yeah, local duties and local tasks. I actually don't know whether I want local duties. Should be fine. We can test it some other way. And we'll just go ahead and say t.name. So that might be something where we want to check it for duties. But if we check it for capital D duties, that actually goes out and finds all of the duties that are attached to any room anywhere. So we're going to end up with a lot. What we really want to do is just check the tasks. So we're going to clear this. And then we're going to go over into a random thing like the solar port here. We're going to save, because this might end up being a pretty harsh little freeze. We're going to debug print tasks. Get nothing, and it didn't freeze. Good. We're going to go ahead and add in a little bit better debug. Debug.log. Come on. Name plus has plus tasks.count tasks. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Just grab that. List duty, tasks, local duties, local duties. There we are. Basic stuff. Let's go ahead and see whether or not we can get a little bit better response. Once again, we'll save, and then we'll go down here and say print duties. Solar port 1 has 1 local duties. Solar port. Congratulations, you are working correctly. You have no tasks and 1 duty. Exactly right. because you're not allowed to assign tasks. Perfect. Thank you very much. You're working as intended. Now we're going to go over into the actual bridge. Here it is. This is the one we're using? Yes, this is the one we're using. And we are going to, you know what, we have to do this in play mode because the map doesn't exist outside of play mode. There we are. So now that we're in play mode, let's try that again. 13 tasks, because it can find the duties. So those aren't local tasks, those are global tasks. And that's all good. So now if we say find duties, it should find just itself. Now let's see whether or not this works. It's clear that it's not creating a recursive problem. Perfect. Look at that. Oh, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. All right, so this is what I wanted to see. It's working great. So here's the thing. How do I check and see whether or not this works? Well, what we can do is point out that nobody has been assigned to this other bridge task. It's a task, but the other bridge task doesn't have anything attached to it. So what we're going to do to test this is we're going to grab one of these solar starbirds or solar ports, whatever. We're going to just duplicate it and move it away so that it's not connected to anything. And we're going to call it solar error, right? And we're going to see whether or not anybody tries to do solar error. Because previously, we would have. Previously, what we would have done is we would have said the solar error is something that's in the ship class, so we can find it. But you can see how we're not piloting anything. Piloting should still exist, so clearly I've screwed up something a little bit, because piloting is more important than most of this crap. Oh, piloting showed up. So my guess is that we reverted the importance of some of these. These have a base importance of 1. The process should have a base task length of 2. The solar error part is working. That's fine. For some reason, the bridge is not giving us the proper importance, even though it's importance 5. I'm trying to think of why this would be. If we look at the tasks, they're sorted by importance so that the most important tasks happen first. But the bridge is not considered the most important task. So what we're going to do is we are going to have it print out the tasks and their importance. So we'll change this from t.duty.desk to t.importance. That way we will know what sort of importance we're looking at. We'll hit play here. And we'll just take a quick little look. Right now, everything should be basically 0 importance. And the reason for that is because all of the tasks haven't had an hour pass, so they are all at maximum efficiency. And we're going to want to go over to the bridge, this one. No, not the bridge. The bridge. The bridge is fine. Print tasks. There we go. So you can see how it's got operations engine 50, operations solar starboard 10, operations solar port 10, refurbish 0, 0, 0, 0, maintain 0, process engine, pilot ship 0. So the operations engine is just going to get, that's 0. That's got a really high rating because we start that at a 10-hour disadvantage. But nobody can do operations. We don't have the ops object on the ship. We can add it. We'll do that before I finish signing off for the day. But we're going to want to wait until an hour passes here. Now the problem is that when the hour passes, we're no longer going to be able to see those tasks, I don't think. Oh, here we are. Pilot ship 0.5. Process engine 0.5, process solar port 0.1, process solar starboard 0.1. So why did pilot ship not get called? It's got the highest remaining tasks. Did it get knocked off of the tasks list? But it shows up later. Okay, so right now, when we do this functional room and we debug print tasks, it actually prints the tasks. Hold on. We're not stringing out. That was the problem here. We forgot to tell it to only add the tasks that match. So no biggie, just forgot. So that's what we're going to do. So I think that I was just being dumb. If we actually took a look at those, I bet it wasn't saying, it was saying process. I bet it wasn't saying process. I bet it was saying ops or something like that. And I just didn't notice. That's actually something we should just check real quick. Yeah. So hit play and see whether or not I was just being blind to the fact that I forgot to filter out those three functions. Is it operations? It is operations. I just got so used to not looking that I didn't notice. We're going to take out the tasks that don't match. So if t dot transform dot is child of transform, then tasks dot add t. Come on. Else if keywords.contains t.keyword tasks.add t. There we are. Only add the tasks that we can actually do. Okay? Okay. Better. Now we should get the correct piloting going. Boom. Perfect. Great. Love it. So now that we're working correctly, what we can do is we can add in an ops room. We actually have an ops room. I just haven't been using it. It's over here. So this is the ops chamber, and we're going to drop this into our ship. We'll just drag it and drop it into the ship itself, and then we'll move it into a position where it might make sense. And I think the place where I'm going to stick it is just between these elements. I can't do it, though. There's stuff in the way. Yeah. So we'll just put it over here. There we go. And the ops is not correctly configured. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to configure it so that it works. And to do that, we're going to be adding in a post. So add component post. Drag the post to the top. And we're going to call this ops. The importance, 1 is fine. Base efficiency is 1. That's fine too. And the keywords is going to be ops. And that should have a radically different approach, because when we actually hit play here, we're going to see something fun. Play. I pushed pause so I wouldn't have to worry about hours passing. So object not set to a reference. Did I screw this up? Oh, I forgot to add in the pathing element. And I don't believe we actually have a collider attached, so we'll just add it. There we go. All right. So when we actually go over here and we ask this dorm integrated for tasks, it should just be the ops tasks. See? See? Because there are ops tasks to do. And as long as there are ops tasks to do, you're not going to go any further. Because this is the first thing they see when they get up out of bed. They get up out of bed from here, they walk down the hall, and they reach the ops room. And the ops room is like, hey, you know, I've got ops tasks for you to do. And they go, okay, well, we'll finish those. And until we're finished with those, we won't go any further. Now, the problem with this is that right now, the ops tasks will need doing forever. And we're going to want to optimize this away. Once we've actually finished operations, engine, operations, solar port, and operations, solar starboard, they're going to come right back. And the problem is that that's because it doesn't matter what the actual level is for these, they're going to keep suggesting themselves. So we're going to want to have a minimum importance for including tasks. Done, and then they're going to come back immediately. See? So we're going to want to assign a minimum importance, and we're just going to make that 1, I think. Just going to fiat say it's 1. So we're going over into the functional room here. When we grab our local tasks, phenomenon. When we actually try to grab these, you can see how when we go through here, we say if block of tasks exist and local tasks count as greater than 0, return list. Well, that means that local tasks is going to have to be something which excludes tired tasks. This doesn't have any problem with that. It's only posts that need to exclude them. So over here, we're going to say if t.importance is less than 1, then continue. So note, exclude anything below a minimum importance. And maybe we'll make that something where we can have that have a threshold that you can set. I guess I'll do that right now. Public float min importance equals 1. Tooltip, do not care about things less important than this. There we go. Tasks. That should fix it. We're going to go ahead and see whether or not that's true. We shouldn't even get... Oh, no, these are ops. So these are actually going to trigger once. You know what? I'm going to accelerate a little bit. This is really going to be too slow for us if we are going to be this... Sorry, I'm bringing it up to 0.5. Save it, hit play. Now we should get one wave of ops, and then we should get normal operations after that. So, and that's what I wanted. That's how I programmed it. I put the ops right there in front where it's got the priority. So what we really should have is as soon as this goes out, we should go to normal ship-wide servicing. It's back. So that means that those count as more important than 1? Really? That doesn't seem right. Let's check it out. Five, 1, and 1. Why are they so important? If we actually look at them, the ops here has an efficiency boost of 10 with a degrade. Oh, it degrades really, really fast. So we're actually going to want to have a multiple, an optional multiple on the tasks for importance. Public float. No, that's down here somewhere. Importance multiple equals 1. And then over here, oh, we have to actually program it in. It's no good if we don't program it in. There we go. Add in a tooltip to make sure we understand that that's a multiple, although it's in the title. Tooltip. Do not go below 0.1. Not go to 0 or below. And we're just going to go ahead and make the ops system actually have a specific low priority importance multiple. And we'll hit play and see what happens. We were working the efficiency boost is so huge that it totally blew my importance check out of the water. But that should be okay now. It's not working at all. So that's strange. Why isn't it working? This does have 2 sectors, one of which goes over into the dorm and the other one of which goes into the mess hall and the bridge and all the rest. So this should be getting everything. Why isn't it? It has 0 tasks. Why does it have 0 tasks? If it has 0 tasks, it's supposed to go out and find all of the other tasks. So from the crew quarters, what we do is we try and find all of the rooms that we might be attached to. So if we grab the bridge room, for example, and we ask for tasks, we get a couple that we're actually trying to do here, the ones we want to do: process engine, pilot ship. The wings don't have enough importance right now. They're not important enough for us to actually go out and do those. They will be once they decay a little bit, but for now they're fine the way they are. These should be what show up, because when this ops room gets hit, what should be happening is this thing should be going out to the ops room, finding it has no tasks, and then moving past. We're going to go ahead and print duties here, and you can see how it has 0 local duties. That's fine. So here's the functional room. When we try and get the attached rooms, it's supposed to stop only if there are local tasks. Otherwise, it's supposed to go through and get all of the attached rooms. For some reason, this doesn't appear to be working, so we're going to debug it. And the way we're going to debug it is we're going to add in a lot of random gibberish. Debug.log name plus attached room check. And then down here, we're going to say debug.log attached room continue. And then down here, we're going to go ahead and say attached room link. And then wait, we're calling ourselves? Hold on. No, we're calling another room. That's fine. All right, so in theory, we'll put this in here. Now this should actually be recursive, so it should be fine. So in theory, this will create a large amount of noise when we call it. Let's try it. So the first thing is, when we call it initially, we should get back just this one room. And you can see how it says dorm arc, dorm out, dorm ops chamber arc, ops chamber arc, ops chamber out to the mess hall, ops chamber out to the engine. So it's not stopped. That's interesting. It shouldn't have gone this far. So when we got to the ops chamber, it should have immediately stopped and never done this, because the AR link happens after block if task exists. Oh, I'm sorry. This happens because it's actually checking itself now for duties, isn't it? Yeah, so this is it grabbing duties. I guess we'll want to clean up the debug statement a little bit so we can tell that. Because I got confused there for a second. Now, obviously, having a visualization would be nice, but I'm a little bit too lazy. It happens. So, print tasks. Here you can see how it goes from being arc true, arc true, arc true to arc false. And that's when it's actually just grabbing everything in the scene. And that's exactly fine. And so it goes through every other thing in the entire setup, and it decides that it gets all of them, and then it creates its task list. Aha! Figured it out. So what's happening here is this here goes out and it fetches all of the duties across the ship. And when it does so, it loads up the rooms checked function. So when we then move on, because this has no duties attached to it, eventually it runs out of tasks, right? So when we run out of tasks and we try to move on, those rooms have already been checked, and therefore they are written off as things we shouldn't check again. So what we actually have to do here is have two separate static values. One's for block if tasks exist, and one's for the other one. So we're going to go ahead and we'll what we're going to want to do is actually cache that and then uncache it. So we're going to go back to our post here. The post goes and finds its local tasks like this. See, when it calls duties in the functional room goes out and finds attached room after having cleared the rooms checked. It clears the rooms checked, so then why aren't we getting the rest of the rooms? Either way, when we get the duties here in the post, what we should probably do is cache the current list functional room, check cached, and then we'll make that equal to checked rooms. And then down at the bottom, we will invert them. So store this so we can restore the original algorithm, the original process to its current state after we screw up the ship with a new search. Now, an alternative to that is to pass the checked rooms around. You know what? We should be doing that. What am I doing here? Don't need this shit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away that static variable. I was trying to keep things that, passing things along to a minimum, but there's no reason. So we're going to go ahead and add in the list right here. And basically what we're going to want to do is just add and change that list. So we'll put in a void here. And when we get to this list, we're going to want to add it if it exists and, that sort of thing. So if no list, or if list equals null, it's not a mono behavior. Can we just say list? Is that I think that's now something, no, apparently not. Equals null, then list equals new list functional room. And what we're going to want to do, that shouldn't be barfing. Why is it barfing? Oh, because we're returning something and it didn't like that. So we'll just, is that going to clean up your barf? No? Because we still got this, just return. Why? Oh, well, it's this. Boom. But we're not going to clear the list out. We're creating a new list if we need it. But you know what? We don't even want that. What we're going to want is, do we have to pass this by ref? I don't remember. Should be, I think we're just going to leave it like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the room if we haven't added it yet. So if list.contains this, then return. And otherwise, we're going to add ourselves. We don't need that. If block of text doesn't look like return, that should work fine. And then here, more rooms equals f.attached rooms. We don't want this part. We just want to pass in the link. So f.attached rooms list. There we are. That should do. That should be a lot cleaner, except for the small fact that it's broken. I'm not sure why it's broken. Optional parameters must, oh. That should be fine. So the only problem is that we're not currently setting it up. So we're going to go ahead and say list functional room, and then we're going to go ahead and set that up like that. Do we have to say ref? We have to say ref. That's fine. And then we're going to want to do the same thing down here, except for false. So now that we're passing it, we're no longer caching it globally, and we shouldn't have any problems. Why is this barfing? Yeah. We're gonna be passing it, and we shouldn't have any problems with this freezing up on us, because we're no longer we no longer have a global cache. We don't need to worry about the global cache. We're passing the list everywhere we go, and it'll be a distinct list depending on who's searching. So maybe that will fix it. Let's find out. Mifa says, didn't know you can call the function in the for each. I thought it would call the function like every iteration. You might be right. Let's go ahead and stop, take a look here. He might not even be talking about this, but he's got a good point. We're calling this for every room. And this is wrong. This is not rooms checked anymore. There's no rooms checked. Delete this. This is all in list. There, that's correct. If this is what you're talking about, I think this logic is correct. I think so. Because we're asking each of these rooms to add itself to the list if it needs to. And then add all of its connected characters to the list if it needs to. There's no rooms checked. Why are we still doing... Oh, this is it. I don't need that anymore. So, we're going to try it out. Just see what's up. So he says, nope for where you for each in duties. Here. So what we're doing here is we're going out and we're finding all of the possible rooms that we can have duties from. And then we can add each of those duties to, for each of those rooms, we can add every single duty to the list of duties. I think that that's perfectly fine. This is not the function duties. It's not a recursive statement, if that's what we're talking about. So I think that's fine. We're looking for the local duties. I've got a lot of things named duty, and I think that's what's confusing me, and maybe you. So here you can see where we're searching. We're searching true, and then we're grabbing all of those falses, and the falses continue forever. But it doesn't stay that way. After a while, it goes back to the ops chamber with a true, which is interesting. It's not an infinite recursion, though. We're not getting any functions out of it? That's interesting. What's going on here? Oh. Let's turn off the efficiency spam for a little bit while I think about the best way to display this. He says not here where you're calling the function in the for each. Don't need this anymore. So I'm not sure which for each he's talking about. I have hundreds of for eaches. But it's clear I do have a logic problem, so if he knows what the logic problem is, that would be nice. What we're going to do is we are going to have this talk to us. So down here, we're going to go ahead and say, so string speech equals blah, and then we're going to just say for each tasks, task t and tasks, speech plus equals t dot name plus comma. Or even, that might not be a good place for it. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, and maybe up here is the best way to do it. For each functional room R in rooms, a list. All right, so he's continued to say, you have this line, for each duty D in duties, the one that has duties in it in the statement. Oh, yeah, so here's the thing. That might actually be a lot of duties. That's probably the cause that we're seeing. I think that you're right. I shouldn't have done that. If only I can find it. Was it in the post? It was. Here it is. You're right. That is a bad call. Good catch. So list duty duties in duties. No, list duties equals duties. Duties. I'm not actually 100% sure if that's still true, but I know that at last time I checked, this function does get called every single time the loop hits, which is why we had that spam that I was unsure of why we had 800 different takes on it. All of this stuff here, it's because we had that problem. We were calling duties every iteration. We want to cache that value. I don't think that's what's causing the main bug, but that was certainly a bug. So if we see here, it's real bad for performance. So if we see here, we've got a whole bunch of trues, and then we have some falses. And this false is where we hit every single room asking for more values. And if we take a look at the game, it should say something. It didn't say anything. That's interesting. I'm going to make it so that it only prints if it's true and not if it's false. I don't have any need for it to spam me if block if they... So if block if task exists, then say this. I don't care about that. Grind, and hit play. So if we take a look at this, we're going from the dorm out to the ops chamber. And the ops chamber has a link to the mess hall. Mess hall links to the engine. Engine links to the starboard engine. So for some reason, the ops chamber doesn't care about the ops tasks that it's supposed to care about. What's going on here? Because it should stop. The ops room should have tasks. It might be that they're being discarded. Let's check that out and see whether or not they're being discarded. So if we pause it, we should see... The ops chamber should never get here. It should stop here. Let's see what's going on. There's something wrong here. So here in the functional room, we get this attached rooms. And this is what we're debugging right now. And basically, we're getting this. And then we're going out to those. No, we're not. What's going on here? Ops chamber link. Yeah, we are. So we're going out and we're linking to these other rooms. But we shouldn't get this far. This should stop us. We're definitely blocking if tasks exist, and there should be local tasks. For some reason, we're not getting any. So debug.log name plus local task count plus tasks.count. Grind. Now I should say local tasks 0. No, it's look at this. What's going on here? So I think that what this might be is it might be calling the wrong tasks. That's all I can think of. It could be that the override we've got for tasks isn't taking. This should be, it's not an override. Hold on. Am I d.tasks? Those are the duties. We should be grabbing the duties. Oh, you know what the problem is? The problem is that these are all when it's grabbing duties, because I forgot to have the functional room only say this if it is Block if tasks. That was the problem. I'm just being an idiot. Block if tasks exist. There we are. Now we shouldn't see those, because it does happen. It does go out and find those because it's looking for all of the duties it can possibly do. And that includes everything on the ship. I was just thinking that it was part of a task find, because this is two separate procedures, as you might remember. So here you can see it says process engine doesn't exist, maintain engine doesn't matter, these don't matter, refurbish operations doesn't matter. None of these have enough value for it to care. And that's when it moves forward. So I guess the problem is that this is the very first hour and none of them have enough importance to actually do anything. So basically, eventually we end up with something, but it takes a long time. And even then, we're not ending up with something correct. That's kind of interesting. Let's try it. So here is the new value. Task maintain engine doesn't matter. Refurbish engine, operations engine, process solar starboard doesn't matter. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and reverse this. We're also going to want to make sure that we don't get the same task several times. Actually, we'll just break if... I guess we'll just leave it at continue. It's fine. All right, so here we've got it slowly set up so that we're not going to get quite as much crap. This is something we don't need. Just delete that. Oh, that's fine. That's all good. Right. Let's try that out. Because what I want is to actually be able to tell what it's discarding and not just what it thinks is unimportant. So if we take a look, boom, if we pause here, it says that it doesn't care about operating the engine, the solar starboard, or the solar port, but it should. Those things should be important. We're multiplying them by a very low amount, which might be too much. If we take a look at operations, we're multiplying them by 0.01. Which is definitely too low, and that's all I can think of. Let's try multiplying them by 0.1. That should still bring it up to 1, and that should be enough. Good, good. Okay, so it was actually close to working as intended. Not quite. All right, so this is how I want it to look. And at some point in the near future, they're going to do some solar maintenance. There we go. Oh, that took so much effort. Oh, but we cleaned up a lot of technical debt. Oh, and I got a headache. Woo. Oh, whew. Let's go ahead and stop here for today. This has already been pretty long. I'll be back on Saturday if you care to watch, or next Wednesday if you want to come back then. This is pretty indicative of how my streams go. I am not a very impressive streamer. But hey, it keeps me focused. Thanks for your help, Mifaz, and maybe I'll see you again next week. Bye, AC Wraith. And Neo Dragon. Sure, you all chime in when I say goodbye, but not when I have troubles. See you next week.